This is the Pipkin and Turnbull Show. We are back and live to you this February 11th, 2020. We are so excited to be back tonight after all of our little delays and mainly on my end trying to figure out a whole moving and everything else going on in my life. But we're back, everything resolved, so we are excited to get into what we're getting into tonight. So, Jamie, what are we talking about tonight, sir?
All right, tonight we're going to do a review for the Super Bowl 54, give our reactions to that, and I might give you guys a little insight of how I handled that. And then we're going to look back on last weekend's XFL games and, the new Extreme Football League. It was around back in the I think early '90s, and it's back. Its first week back was last weekend, and kind of it was a different style. So we'll look at that and just kind of give you our takeaways on that. So with that said, man, we'll go into the Super Bowl, and Caleb came over to my place, and we watched the Super Bowl, had a Super Bowl party, and I was definitely on the edge of my seat
Were.
there, and then at about the fourth quarter, I couldn't sit down. Um, I it's hard to describe, the emotions that I was feeling that game. Having never seen my Chiefs play in the Super Bowl. It was just a good game all around. Caleb, before I go any farther, I mean, what were your your reaction to the game?
Oh man. Well, first of all, I want to let our like everybody. So what's cool is we both have moved into our new apartments, and first thing I'm like noticing tonight is like your internet is significantly better, which is
Woohoo!
awesome.
Yeah.
And so I think everybody's gonna be excited with that along with me.
Mhm.
And I love your bobbleheads in the back, man. It's like I gotta
Yeah.
try to like step up my game or something, man. But that's so awesome. But
Mhm.
yeah, so we were like in the middle. That's what was crazy too, is that we were both in the middle of moving and everything
Mhm.
else, and the Chiefs were going on. Man, it I was super excited just for we live here in Missouri. Just a lot of it. It really is such a friends and family, like everybody was getting together to watch this game. It
Mhm.
meant a whole lot to everyone, and that's what's cool about
Yeah.
it is after 50 years of waiting for a Super Bowl to happen. It was just really cool just to see such a fan base that deserved this kind of success, which
Yeah.
they had been waiting for. For they're such hardcore fans. Sometimes like any fan base, you can be annoying and stubborn and say this is our year every year. But the Chiefs fan and Chiefs Kingdom is really really awesome, and this will only grow it. Um,
Mhm.
you know, being a Steelers fan, just knowing the fandom that travels with the Steelers, you're starting to see that with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
That's starting to be cool. Because a couple years ago, I mean, Jamie and I we went and saw a game together, and the Pittsburgh Steelers traveled well into Arrowhead. I don't know if that could ever
Yes.
happen again, but just to see that around the NFL, just to see that start happening, you'll really start seeing more and more Chiefs fans because
Yeah.
this generation's growing up with Patrick Mahomes, um,
Mhm.
and these kids are just looking up to somebody like a Patrick Mahomes, and he's such a great
Yeah.
dude to look up to. So with all those thoughts being played into it all, man, I was genuinely excited just to watch the game, to be with you and watch it.
Yeah.
Was really special to me, man.
Mhm.
You know, uh, just seeing your excitement and just being a part of that was
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah.
And win or lose. That's the way I was kind of approaching it. Really wanted it for the Chiefs, but it was just a great moment, regardless of what has happened, because they finally made it. Because
Yeah.
you didn't, until that ball was kicked off for for Super Bowl 54. You really didn't believe it.
Yeah.
Because there have been so many great Chiefs teams in the past. You think
Mhm.
about Schottenheimer, with the
Mhm.
staff he put together with Bill Cowher and Tony Dungy. You had Joe
Yep.
Montana. You had all this success in the '90s, and when you look back on some of that, you and I have talked about this. Looking back at the '90s, man, how didn't this just Chiefs organization get a couple Super Bowls in?
Yeah.
And even in the early 2000s, when you look at the Trent Green year and the Tony Gonzalez year, um,
Yeah.
like how has this not happened till now? But it was sweet though. It was a celebration of 100 years for the NFL, and it had been
Yeah.
exactly 50 years since the last championship, and so all those
Yeah.
things, like, these are kind of my opening impressions, win or lose for the Chiefs. It was special,
Yeah.
even before the kickoff began.
Yeah. It just I it's really hard to just kind of put it into words, because I every year I always say this is the year, and for whatever reason something happens that just doesn't go our way, and then we come up short. Like last year, we were an offsides away from going to the Super Bowl, and then this year we finally did it, and I want to talk about like because a lot of people still, I mean, just won't give Patrick Mahomes his credit, and which I don't get. The guy is only 24 years old. He's an MVP, Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion. He's won two AFC West titles. He and this is only his second year starting, and but everybody just refuses to give him his credit. Like that it's the team that's around him. That's the reason he's good. It's Andy Reid. That's the reason he's good. And I think the Chiefs aren't in the Super Bowl without Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Coming from 24 down against the Texans, and coming from 10 down twice to the Titans, and then 10 down against the San Francisco in the Super Bowl. Like, yeah, the Chiefs are good all around. Like, there's a lot of like every position has a skill player there and a good player, but I just don't think the Chiefs are win the Super Bowl without Patrick Mahomes. And I'm styling my hair after him now. That's where we're
Yes, we
at with
haven't we
that.
haven't mentioned that yet.
Yeah.
It's not Jamie's Rogaine or something going on there.
But
It's a new style.
it I'm so excited. Like the Chiefs aren't going to win the Super Bowl every year because that's literally impossible. But I'm excited just to see where Patrick Mahomes goes in his career at this point, because like he's already accomplished so much in 2 years starting that it's just crazy to think that he's only going to get better, and that there's more for him to accomplish. And I'm just, man, the future is so bright for the Chiefs, and that's one thing I've said many, 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 many times in my life is that the future is bright for the Chiefs. But this time, there's not a lot of people that could argue against that. It's really just crazy to think about. Just where the Chiefs can go from here. How many more championships are they going to win with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback?
Yeah.
And it's just, I love just thinking about it. It's just crazy. I still like, I still haven't wrapped my head around it that the Chiefs actually won the Super Bowl. I've got the 1969 Super Bowl ring back there, and I just look at it and it's just like, we've won another one. Like it's just crazy. just
Yeah.
I, yeah, my emotions are still just going crazy from that game.
Yeah.
So it
Well, with any Super Bowl, you've got a winner and you've got a loser. I got a couple, some of my impressions of what the 49ers were doing. I mean, early on throughout this whole game, you had 3 quarters. Well, you really had 4 quarters of them kind of dominating in a lot
mhm,
of areas, especially when
mhm,
you look at the trenches, like we had talked about a couple weeks prior, just how good the O line and the D line for the majority of that game showed up and gave the
mhm,
Chiefs everything that they could handle. I
yeah,
remember, we were both sitting on in your living room, and I was just like, man, Bosa's got Fisher right now, and that's gonna
yeah,
be trouble for 4 quarters. Bosa, well, like I said, 3.5 quarters. Bosa had Fisher beat, and and
yeah,
and that was part of the thing was just how fast. No matter how great you are, if you are able to get to the quarterback within that 3 second threshold, you will
yeah,
not be successful. And that's
mhm,
that's what the San Francisco 49ers were able to do for the majority of that game. So
yeah,
where do we look at in that fourth quarter? And 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 as a 49ers fan, I would be extremely upset at where this team went to, because we've watched from the Tennessee Titans to the Houston Texans. There are some reasons throughout this playoff run, and I give all the Chiefs credit and their firepower and everything, but these teams shut down and went against their play styles when the Chiefs started getting closer, when they started feeling that momentum start turning. Um,
mhm,
I kind of look at Kyle Shanahan in that fourth quarter. You know,
yeah,
the Chiefs just brought it back in that fourth quarter from 20 to 17, all right? And you
mhm,
get the ball back. A lot of momentum has just happened. That is the time where Patrick Mahomes had just completed his 3rd and 15. And truly that 3rd and 15 40-yarder to Tyreek Hill, when you define a turning point for a game, that is a turning point. Like
yeah,
you cannot find a better example of there was one specific play where we were like, the Chiefs are about to do something, and that's that
yeah,
40-yarder to Tyreek Hill.
mhm,
But the 49ers still have an opportunity to wear down that clock, do what they've been doing, and they have on their next series a horrible 3-and-out drive where the play only lasted 45 seconds, where the offense came back onto the field. To me, that was a significant moment in that game. And in that moment where Jimmy Garoppolo threw 2 crucial incompletes, but part of it was Chris Jones got his paw up in the air and was able to bat one of those down.
yeah,
But you've got to you had there was just something lacking with those 3 plays.
mhm,
I still remember I just would have called that differently. Even if you ran the ball just to say, hey, we are putting this on the O line, we can at least take 2 minutes off the clock, you
yeah,
know, and put some urgency, maybe more on the Chiefs, at
yeah,
least, take some clock down, you know.
yeah,
Um, but you leave 45 seconds and then, that's what the Chiefs do. That
yeah,
and from that point on, the Chiefs took over. That
yeah,
3-and-out alongside with that 40-yarder was detrimental to the 49ers. And I just kind of look at, why don't you run the ball? Why don't you play to your style that you've been playing the whole game? And we
yeah,
know, like Jimmy, if you think about it, until that third quarter, you can make a significant case that he's outplaying Mahomes.
yeah.
If you go
Oh yeah,
back, look
definitely.
at that statistics, you think about the way the momentum of the game, you could, and I would say Jimmy Garoppolo was doing a great job up to that point.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I don't know what you call, but I guess my struggle with that was you you got to play more to your strengths, and instead of kind of being worried about what's happening in that moment. But I mean, with those two, you don't expect two incompletes. You don't call those plays for two incomplete plays in
Yeah.
a row to 45. But I don't know. I just feel like when you look at the battle within the offensive line and defensive line, if you're going to ride your money on trying to wear some of that clock down so that you cannot allow Patrick Mahomes to come back on that field that quick, you have got to play that down a little bit more. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I don't know what else what you saw with what were happening with the 49ers, or anything else that was happening.
Yeah, they panicked, and I think I don't blame them for wanting to put the ball in Garoppolo's hands. I mean, that's why they pay him. But at that point, like their strength is running the football. Like that's all we heard the whole Super Bowl week was how it's running back by committee and they're gonna run it down the Chiefs' throats. And they did that at the start for 3 quarters. They did that. And then the Chiefs started gaining momentum and they put it in Garoppolo's hands and he kind of showed that, when the pressure's on, like he couldn't really deliver for him. That's not to say that he's a bad quarterback. I mean, we talked all football season about how good the 49ers are, but it was, Garoppolo was their worst player. And which, he's a good player, so it's not really a diss on him. It's just more of like, on a strong team with a good quarterback, he's the worst of them. And, it showed there when they needed him the most. Like he missed when I
Yeah,
kind of knew at the point when he missed a wide open Emmanuel Sanders, that would have been a touchdown if he would have hit Sanders. And I kind of knew at that point, like, okay, yeah, we've got him, you know,
yeah.
and
Well, and let's
and
face
so
it. I mean, with that, and you think about some of the flags that went the Chiefs' way. I mean,
yeah,
you and I both sat there and were like, "Man, the Chiefs' check went through that night." I mean,
yeah,
there was a couple flags where we both looked, and I was like, "Man, like I want the Chiefs to win, but man, the
yeah,
the 49ers got hosed on some of those flags." And that's
yeah,
just being perfectly honest, you know.
yeah.
um, that played into part of it too, but anyways, I jumped in on you. What were you finishing up with, brother?
No, no, I was good. And that I mean that's just football. There's one team that will get majority of the calls. There's another team that will miss calls. There was iffy calls on both sides. Some of the ones the Chiefs got away with were a little more noticeable, I would say. But it still like the penalties are one thing, but the 49ers, I don't think that it messed with the outcome so much as the 49 because the 49ers still had a chance.
Yeah,
They could have still easily won that game with those penalties. And so I've kind of went back and forth with a couple 49er fans on that point that, yeah, we got away with some calls, but you guys still should have won, could have won that game. Your head coach is panicked. And poor Shanahan, he's kind of got a bad rep now because he was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons when the Patriots came back from 28 to
yeah,
3 in the Super Bowl.
yeah,
So he's kind of looking like he's kind of got a bad reputation. That's I feel is starting to fume up on him.
yeah.
And I
I
don't. The 49ers are going to go back. I have no doubt about that.
see
That's a
that
young and strong
I
team.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you keep up the production on some of the defensive players. Because
Yeah,
if you don't have that production from the defensive players, I keep thinking that this was kind of a Cinderella run. And
yeah,
I've been downing the 49ers the whole time. I mean, but you do. I mean, you do have some great talent. You have Debo Samuel, who I think is just going to grow and grow and be one of the top wide receivers in the NFL.
Yeah.
I really do believe that. Just he was their best weapon.
Hmm.
During that Super Bowl, especially those early three quarters. Really didn't know that he was that good of a runner.
I
That was
didn't
the
either.
first time that that kind of showed up, and I was like, wow, this dude's a weapon. Like
Mm,
Debo is going to probably be special in the next
hmm.
couple of years, but man, I'm struggling just because of Garoppolo. You were talking about earlier where you said, the Chiefs have so much talent. Is it Andy Reid? No, I mean Patrick is the star of this league, the best player in the NFL.
Mm,
And that just kind of sealed his legacy. I don't see that changing,
mm.
even with some of these quarterbacks starting to come out of college and Lamar and Deshaun. Mahomes is just on a whole other level. It's the
Yeah.
closest. The closest. He's a combination to me of Peyton Manning and Brett Favre, and you
Yeah.
kind of put those two together, and maybe with the being as clutch as Tom Brady. I mean, that's what's crazy about Patrick Mahomes. There really hasn't been somebody quite like him. I mean, obviously, when you've got Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Travis Kelsey, Damian Williams, who played it like a stud in that Super Bowl, who I still think Damian Williams should have been the MVP of that game. But
Hmm.
I get why the decision was Mahomes.
Mm.
Uh, I there is that, but uh, Alex Smith, uh, Alex Smith is the perfect example of why Mahomes, the biggest because Alex Smith, I mean, he had, Kareem Hunt,
Yeah.
you know,
Mahomes had Hunt for like half a season
yeah, and
last season,
so
and so
I don't the only reason you can't really make a strong argument for what you were saying that people were saying about Mahomes, and I mean obviously yeah, he's got incredible talent. Tyreek Hill is,
mm,
oh my goodness, but
mm,
Alex Smith is your reason where you could just say, well, Alex Smith, who is a good quarterback, um, definitely did not take this offense or near what it looked like with Patrick Mahomes.
yeah,
Even with Tyreek Hill and some of those others, Sammy Watkins, they wouldn't be the same without Patrick Mahomes throwing them the ball, because just his arm strength, his willingness to take those shots. So the argument is there is no argument. I mean,
yeah.
simply to put it, I mean Patrick is the future of this league. Period.
Well, maybe we might talk about this another day, but as of right now, is Patrick Mahomes a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, league MVP, Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl winner.
No,
Um,
because I would argue he's accomplished more than Dan Marino, and he's a Hall of Famer.
yeah, I mean, you're just waiting on the stats. I mean, unless he
Yeah,
gets hurt. I mean, I would put him in at this point. I mean, because
yeah,
I've never seen anybody like him, and
yeah.
that's what you can ask any past player. You look at some of their interviews, players now, they'll tell you that
Mm,
they've never seen anything quite like Patrick Mahomes.
yeah,
And that is, I mean, that is a credit to how they developed him. Don't
yeah.
get me wrong, the way that the Chiefs went about this, because I didn't realize that there was because I didn't know who Patrick Mahomes was out of Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Who like I didn't even know when they were going in the draft that they were going to draft a quarterback. And then you got some guy named Patrick Mahomes come out, and everybody, Shannon Sharp saying it's a travesty for the Chiefs to pick him up.
Yeah. And
So
now he loves him.
yeah, so there isn't. I mean, even yeah, I don't think there's any general manager in this league. If you had a choice between, let's say, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes, each one of those GMs picked Mahomes. There
Yeah.
is no question with that.
Well,
No
yeah. I mean, the
question.
Chiefs. The Chiefs basically did that. because I knew that the Chiefs were going to go quarterback that draft. And when they moved down to 10, I knew who Patrick Mahomes was, but I was so dead set on Deshaun Watson that that's who I thought they were going to draft. And so, like, when they announced Patrick Mahomes, I was like, and so I watched the stats and I was like immediately okay with it. But I mean, Brett Veach, they've talked to him like, what made you draft Mahomes? Like, why would you draft him? And he's like, he was the best player that I have ever scouted. And so Veach, he saw Deshaun. He could have took Deshaun Watson. Watson was taken, I think, 2 picks later.
What's crazy is they were between that and Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's how close Chiefs Kingdom was to the
hmm
Bears picking up Mahomes. Like
yeah,
that's what Nagy said would if they didn't get they were either it was Mahomes or Trubisky, and
yeah,
whichever one that they didn't pick that would follow suit with the Bears. So,
yeah,
but that's what's crazy about all this is just the Chiefs had never drafted number one quarterback that had been successful.
yeah.
So
Yeah, because the last first round quarterback the Chiefs drafted was back in the 70s or 80s. It was Todd Blackledge,
yeah,
and they took him. They skipped over Dan Marino to take Blackledge, who won the Heisman for Penn State, and that did not work out. And so from Blackledge to Mahomes, we drafted a couple quarterbacks, but no drafted quarterback until Mahomes had won a game.
yeah,
We had won it with basically 49er castoffs and Trent Green. And so it's just
yeah.
crazy. It's just crazy to think about.
So, any last thoughts that you have from the Super Bowl?
No, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. It still just doesn't feel real. I was watching the parade, just going like, "Yo, I can't. I still can't believe that it happened."
Yeah,
After all these years. So, man, I'm already ready for next season though. Like
yeah,
I'm ready for August and September. I'm ready. So that's all I got on it, man. I can't help but smile and I want more.
yeah.
So
This is incredible. And I had never thought about being a fan of Andy Reid. But
mm,
especially over these last couple of years, I've really become a fan of Coach Reid.
yeah,
Just because I enjoy that he just looks like he's having fun coaching. I don't,
yeah,
when I remember Coach Reid at the end of the Philadelphia, it didn't seem like he was enjoying it anymore. And to win it like that with this team, with a group that he did assemble. This was all him and the general manager. This
Brett
was
Beach.
yeah. This was their making.
Yeah,
And um, it was really cool to see him and win it. And that the Chiefs, like in Chiefs fashion, in the playoffs, they had to come back and win.
yeah,
But they're down 20-10 in the fourth quarter, and then they do a 20-point swing or 31-20.
yeah,
And that's what this team represented throughout the playoffs, and they did it once again in the Super Bowl. That's what I was thought was because you know like we said from the beginning of that game, the Chiefs were down, and if there was any time left on that clock, they could still come back and win. You know,
yeah,
and so that's what's crazy was I'm watching you during the Super Bowl, and nobody really panicked because we were like, they'll figure it out.
yeah,
You're always like, oh, that last interception that Patrick Mahomes threw, though. You were like, oh man, it's gonna be rough trying to get back from this, but
yeah.
they still did it. They still
They
found a
did it.
way, like they had been.
Yeah,
Um, so just real quick, what I love to do, kind of after the Super Bowl, we're kind of a little fresh. What is, and I go first. What is your AFC championship next year and your NFC championship?
Oh man.
So for me, I think my AFC Championship, I definitely have the Chiefs. I back in it. The second team is a lot tougher for me, just because I believe Baltimore will be back. You've got um, I know this is a home. I always say I like what Pittsburgh does if they can figure out the quarterback because that defense is amazing. For the first time was starting to carry this team. So you got
Yeah.
Pittsburgh and Baltimore back in the AFC North, uh, Titans and Texans coming back as
Mm.
well with strength. Um,
I don't feel the Titans are going to be there. I think the Titans are going to be like the Jaguars a couple years ago, and they're just going to go back to mediocrity.
yeah, but I've got I do like the Mike variable factor within that, and just
Yeah.
kind of changing the culture within that. Um, it's a little early, but I think the culture's starting to build something special in Indianapolis. I think it's a year early for that, but you watch out for
Mm.
them Colts. Um, so yeah, I think at this point, I'm just gonna go with kind of the matchup we were looking for this year, and go Chiefs Ravens for the AFC Championship.
Mhm.
NFC Championship. First one that I'm kind of looking at is actually Green Bay. Once again, I think they make it in. I think they just add a couple pieces to that offense. They were strong in a ton of areas that people didn't think that they'd be strong in. So I like Green
Yeah.
Bay in that position. And I actually like Russell Wilson in the Seahawks for the other position in the NFC Championship. So I got Chiefs, Ravens, and then I got Green Bay, Seattle. Just kind of fresh off my brain, just thinking about how teams will be moving, who they've got, the few pieces that these teams could put and really have a successful season. So as of now, that's where I would pick it, I think. So where are you at?
So for the AFC, yeah, I gotta go with the Chiefs. I think a lot, and this is gonna change between now and March when free
Right.
agency starts, and
Oh yeah.
it's definitely gonna change once the
Yeah.
season starts, and just how teams draft and stuff. But I have to go with the Chiefs. I don't. Their main core is gonna still be there. Chris Jones may or may not be there, but on offense, the core is still gonna be there.
Right.
Tyreek, Kelsey, Mahomes, Hardman, they're all going to still be there. So I got to go with the Chiefs. Um, and then I'm going to go with the Texans. I like the Texans. I like their offense. I love their weapons. Kenny Stills, Hopkins, Fuller. Their running back, they're going to get Lamar Miller back. I don't know if they'll keep Duke Johnson. I don't know if they'll keep Hyde. They should definitely keep Hyde. Um, I like their offense, and I think their defense is really good. Any team that has J.J. Watt is good. So I would look for the Chiefs and the Texans to be in the AFC Championship. Um, for the NFC Championship, I'm gonna go. I have to believe that the Saints are eventually going to get there. Um,
Get back there,
and
man.
hopefully they don't, because this is what 2 years in a row they've gotten
Yeah.
hosed by the refs. Third year's the charm,
Yeah.
and I think that the Saints are going to get there. And then I have a wild card team that I feel is going to represent the NFC West in the um, NFC Championship, and it is not the Niners, but the Arizona Cardinals. I
Oh,
I'm
that
I'm
soon,
gonna go
huh?
with the Cardinals.
Wow.
Yeah, I like Kyler. I think this is gonna be Fitzgerald's last year. I don't know if David Johnson will be there, but they're in a good position in the draft. I feel like they're gonna get players that are gonna want to play with Kyler. I just have a good feeling, man. They're gonna sneak in,
Huh.
be like a 8-8, 9-7 team. Gonna sneak into the wild card, and they're gonna shock some people.
Yeah,
And so,
there's a lot to consider, especially on the NFC side, because
mhm,
um, I think there's a lot more uh, stronger teams where you can be like, yeah, they're going to be a part of it. I think the AFC is a little bit more of a wild card because you've got a couple top tier teams that you could be like maybe, but the AFC is
mm,
going to be kind of moving around a lot.
yeah,
But in the NFC, I kind of like I like the Vikings too, what they'll be able to do. Um, I think Philadelphia may be strong again next year. And let's not forget about Sean McVay out there in LA with the Rams. Um,
yeah,
if they can figure out some of what was going on from this year, and figure out what they need to improve on the offense, you could see the LA Rams back into it.
yeah,
So Saints Arizona. That's interesting. That would be
yeah,
quite something, man. That'd be quite something. All right,
yeah.
so this weekend we had something awesome happen. For the love of football is the
Mm-hmm.
XFL's tagline. What's funny is my wife Elizabeth was. I turned it on and she's like, "I thought football was over," and I was like, "Well." And
It's
I was like,
never
no.
over.
I was like, now they've got spring football, and that was like the worst thing for her. But so we so like last time I started picking teams who I like. So we're I at least I know for both of us, I think we're kind of rooting for our St. Louis Battlehawks for the
Yeah,
XFL, and they got a win.
they did.
Surprisingly, against the
Yeah.
odds, they got the win. So that was pretty
Yep.
exciting to see that happen. But I remember by the AAFL, I was rooting for them Birmingham Irons, man.
Yeah.
But it was cool. We got the Battlehawks, but man, let's just talk about this XFL, man. It had a very good opening weekend.
Yeah.
Everybody, even myself watching it, I enjoyed the play. It was kind of funny to me that everybody thought the scoring would be a lot higher. But that the scoring will come as the weeks to come. It didn't surprise me that the defenses were playing better because
Yeah.
it's hard to get chemistry going on offense, and some people kind of forget that when they're thinking about these, that they're like, oh, they're going against talented defensive players. I mean,
Yeah.
that we were talking about there was one guy from the Battlehawks that he's in the XFL because he didn't have the grades to keep it in West Virginia, but he's one of the top cornerbacks who will be in the NFL, and could be drafted. Um,
Yeah.
so, uh, so you've got talented guys on defense. So,
Mhm.
um, you know, my favorite thing about the XFL was I loved when there was a challenge, you could hear them and see them process a challenge.
Yeah.
That was probably my favorite thing, was just I
Mhm.
don't know why I enjoyed it so much, but I enjoyed just being he's like, okay, yeah, I'm seeing his knee on the ground, like it's like we're all seeing him process it, so it was cool, man. I don't know why
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. The kickoff I was okay with. Everybody was like super hyped about this kickoff. I didn't think it was so. I mean, I I keep people keep saying there's so many injuries on kickoff, but especially this year and the prior years, I don't really remember seeing it as much because a lot of
Yeah.
teams are taking knees because you go out to the 25. So I mean, if you're
Yeah.
preventing injury, that rule has probably prevented more injuries than maybe even this setup. But at least with
Yeah.
this setup, you may be able to see more returns. So maybe that's the thought process behind it. Um,
Yeah.
you know, I I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed the pace of the game was a lot quicker. I enjoyed that there was a referee just in charge of spotting the ball to help
Yeah.
make that pace quicker.
Mhm.
What were kind of your first thoughts of just everything in general about the
I
XFL?
love I love the 25-second game clock. I felt like that really sped things along where the NFL is a 45 second game clock. I loved the 25-second cuz I felt the game had more, it was just went was going faster. Um, I love that every time, man, you've got a reporter and a camera there, and so if you fumble the ball or throw the interception, you got a reporter and a camera there going, "You just cost your team, points. How do you feel about that?" And so, like, I
Yeah.
loved that because I was just like, man, I hope you guys have that beep button ready
Man,
because,
yeah, going off that,
whoo,
man, I love Pat McAfee as a sideline reporter, man. That was
yes,
so much fun. I was like, dude, just get me more Pat McAfee, man.
yep,
Man, that dude is so much fun.
yeah,
I'm so glad that he's gonna be doing that during the XFL games. That's so
oh yeah.
awesome. But
Um,
yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed the games. I thought they were competitive. I saw a lot of potential players that I feel can eventually play on Sundays. Just and I in the XFL, like a lot of people were saying, this is competition for the NFL. It's not competition for the NFL. That's why they're playing after the NFL season is over. Um, but I think it's just a good. It's good to, that way we can keep watching football, because their season's shorter. Their championship will be in April. That's the draft, and then
Yeah,
basically we go right back into the NFL. We've got April is the draft, and June, July off season workouts start, and then August we're right
yeah.
back into the NFL. The XFL, it's not competition for the NFL, and there's a reason. It's just not. I would love to see them add more teams eventually, and make a bigger league. But it was a lot of fun. That first game it was kind of boring, and I was texting a friend. We were watching it, and it was really boring. But then it starts picking up, and once it started picking up and they started figuring things out on both sides of the football, it got really good. And it's definitely going to be entertaining to watch
Yeah.
these next couple of months. So I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to more um from the viewing perspective. I really want some more camera shots, especially that behind the quarterback shot.
Hmm.
I saw they were throwing in some drones in there, getting some footage. That was cool. The only
Hmm.
thing I was like, man, they got to get a guy a steady cam for the dude who's running up behind them, like doing this
Yeah.
awkward shot that's like almost staring up in the sky. I was like, you need to get rid of that shot.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about maybe that perspective of the camera shots of what they're choosing because I found it fascinating, man. But I love. There was one point I love that sky cam. I wish they would do
Yeah.
more of that sky cam behind the quarterback play, man, because you get to see the play develop and appreciate how skilled these guys are. When you
Hmm.
do that sky cam shot compared to that sideline shot where you only see the quarterback most of the time.
Hmm.
When you get that sky cam shot, you're able to see that whole play develop, and it's really awesome to just see just the skills of those wide receivers breaking out into their routes. And so,
Yeah.
really would love to see more of that out of the XFL. The fourth quarter, the last 2 minutes before the half and before the fourth quarter, that was interesting. Where the clock doesn't start until the first 5 seconds of the play clock is totally down. So that made
Yeah.
it. I don't know how I felt about it because it was like confusing me what they were trying to do or like, but the time management you're gonna need. I think you're gonna need like a whole coach just for time management for the XFL. I have
Yeah.
I have no clue how you could like do it accurately as a head coach with so many different time management rules.
Yeah.
So I mean, if I was an XFL coach, that'd be like one of my first hires, just a guy who's analyzing my time management and figuring out the things for that, and then they already have that. Um,
Yeah.
I liked that the players, the skilled players have a radio set. That was cool. My only
Hmm.
concern when you do radio is that a lot of the times those headsets go out, and that's what was
Yeah.
happening, and um, so and you could have the frequency, so you could start hearing the other coaches from the other
Yeah.
team. You know, you've got all that stuff when you get more and more radio. But um, it's interesting. But I don't know how overly used you'd want it, just because if your headset goes out, apparently in the XFL, if one of the team's headsets goes out, the other team can still keep using that headset. So
Yeah.
in the NFL, if the headset goes out, the other team has to stop using their headsets as well.
Yeah.
So I think that should be more the standard, just because
Mm.
of how much it's used in the XFL.
Yeah.
That's just nitpicking, but I thought it was an
Yeah.
interesting element. Um,
Yeah.
I loved that you could hear more of the coaches and players. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it
I
was.
like the field goals, or not the field goals, but the point after touchdown.
Yeah, it
You
was
can choose
interesting.
between 3, 2 to 1,
Yeah,
and I think there's a lot of strategy that can go into that, and
yeah,
how you approach that as the game goes on. I really liked that aspect of it.
yeah,
Um, yeah, there's a lot, and there's more we're gonna learn as the season goes on. Just how different it is
yeah,
from the NFL. But I thought it was a really good opening weekend,
yeah,
to say the least, and
yeah.
looking forward to next weekend watching more.
Watching more Battlehawks.
Yeah, yeah,
And the XFL really got caught a break by doing the contract with ESPN. I think they're having a lot more coverage of the league that way.
yeah,
The CBS Sports deal, I think, was part of the reason the AAF kind of went downhill. But a lot more people have ESPN and have access to it. Um,
yeah,
and that was kind of my other reasoning. I thought how ESPN presented it, the ads, everything around it, the marketing aspects
yeah,
of it, um, are a lot more planned out, and thought out comparatively to the AAF. But
yeah,
it's cool. I think we thought the AAF was going to last, but looking at some of the mistakes that they made compared to the XFL,
yeah,
I think we're gonna at least finish out the season.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think it's gonna go bankrupt midway, but I think it's here for this year and definitely next year. And it's
mm,
just and it's something that the NFL will look at. They'll
mm,
test things out with the XFL, and so that's what's cool about it is that the NFL can test out and they can get fan reactions to it. And
yeah,
so the NFL game may change in some ways because of the XFL. So
yeah,
uh, yeah, so it was cool.
yeah.
Um, Wrap up, Jamie. Where's Tom Brady gonna end up? Where's he
Oh
gonna end
my,
up?
oh my.
Last 2 minutes of the show.
You know what, man? All right, I'm just gonna. I've been thinking about this. Jerry Jones is gonna trade Dak Prescott to the Los Angeles Chargers. Tom Brady's gonna go to Dallas.
Wow, he's not gonna get franchise tagged.
Nope,
No. Wow,
nope.
that's a new scenario. Um, I'm just gonna play the safe bet and say he's gonna be a Patriot for life because there's a love relationship between the owner and the player. If Robert
Yeah,
Kraft did not love Tom Brady, Tom Brady would have been gone before Garoppolo was gone. So for
that's
Robert,
true.
that's what so I'm just gonna take the safe bet and just say all this hype is for nothing, and he's gonna stay with New England. But I would love for Tom Brady to go to Cincinnati and get some sacks in before he leaves. So,
Oh my
I
god.
wish no, I don't. I hope he doesn't get hurt, but I hope he sees everything he's been afforded to be lucky enough to have. The
Yeah.
Patriots organization. But man, that would be crazy if he like ended his career being a Cincinnati Bengal.
Oh my
I
god.
don't think that would happen,
No.
uh, but that would be crazy. But he's in the talks for Cincinnati. There's Miami. There's the Chargers. Man, there's a whole lot of there's the free agency for quarterbacks in general is super interesting this year. because
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of movement, you know. And then you've got pretty good quarterbacks in the draft too. So,
Yeah.
as always, let us know what you think in the comments. Where's Tom Brady going? What did you think of the XFL? Um, I know we talk a lot about Chiefs, but what are some other things that you want us to talk about? Let us know in the comments. Yeah, we'd love to see some of that interaction going on. Jamie, you got
Yes.
anything?
No, just as always, man, we love the support. We love talking to you guys. If there's any predictions that you guys think, is going to happen next season, basketball's starting to heat up. Baseball's
Yeah.
about to come back. Hockey, anything you guys want us to talk about, man, just bring it up and we'll talk about it. This is just as much your show as it is ours, and we want to interact with you guys. So. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting us. And, we love you. And we'll see you guys next week.
All right, guys, we'll see you next week. And go Battlehawks.
The Battlehawks.